Going to try and re-establish that line in Oudtshoorn where we find our reporter, Nasiphi. Nasiphi, hopefully this line is a little bit better. You were just showing us some of the damage to that property that you are in right now.
Indeed, and one would say the major cause of the destruction that Tammy will be going into now is the river right behind the wildlife ranch here that overflowed into this property. And we understand that this particular town had, in the past just over a year, has had about 3 of these incidents. The mayor, or flooding rather, the mayor indicating that they have not received this much rain in such a short space of time in over a decade. And to talk to us further about the damage here and also the evacuations that they saw on Wednesday evening is Tammy Moult from the Cango Wildlife Ranch. Tammy, but we know that you guys had built a boundary wall. It looks quite thick from where I'm standing, but talk to us about the destruction.
Yeah, we've had an incredibly trying 48 hours. We were lucky enough to be notified about the dam overflowing at about 1:30 on Wednesday, and normally we have about 3 hours to evacuate animals. And as a facility, we always prepare for worst case scenario to ensure the animal's safety. So we started with evacuations at 1:30. Everything went to plan, but the water was coming down incredibly hard. And then at 7 o'clock, we had our boundary wall completely collapse, which flooded the whole central area. We recorded on site that the water rose by about 4 meters, which is substantial. We're lucky enough to, based on an enormous flood that we experienced in '96, enclosures were built to accommodate and protect the animals from these sort of disasters, but you don't always account for your boundary wall giving way as well and the amount of water that came down. So yeah, we started with further evacuations. We are so lucky to say that all the animals are okay. We have a private reserve that we evacuated many of the animals to. We also have an animal care centre, which is essentially an animal hospital that is divided up into certain enclosures where a lot of the animals are at the moment. And we're not releasing them back into enclosures, not just because of the state of the damage, but there's a little bit of rainfall expected today, so better safe than sorry. And yeah, we're just hoping for the best at this point and working hard to try and repair some of the damage.
Tammy, as we're walking into the restaurant, you were basically indicating to us how high the water had reached, and that you had managed to, basically switch off your electricity.
Yeah, so as a facility, we have electrics running throughout the park. In terms of infrastructure, we have lost substantial infrastructure. So we have engineers coming out to do full assessments on structural integrity of buildings. The electrics we managed to get off in time. We quite literally broke open our restaurant at one stage to get DV boards off before the water reached there, because when the wall came in, it was just massive volumes of water that flooded through. To get to the cheetahland part, we were literally wading through water shoulder deep, and that took place in our aviary as well. So we had, out of all the animals, we had one very stressed little red rum tagouti, which is a South American rodent. So it's equivalent to our dassie, that understandably, with all the stress, while we were trying to evacuate him, jumped the wall into the riverside. So we've notified authorities, but we remain hopeful. But if I can just add as well, the outpouring of support and concern we've received, it's been incredible. And our staff arrive here this morning with blisters on their hands and feet and still smiles on their faces. So in so many ways, we've had a lot of damage, but we still count ourselves very lucky.
On that note, Tammy, I'm assuming, obviously the boundary wall was informed by the previous floods. Moving forward with the assessments that you'll be doing, I'd like to think that you, in a way, will be preparing once again should the dam again overflow to about 4 meters high?
Absolutely. So when we spoke to the Municipal Waterworks Division, they were saying that this is the highest they've ever seen the river and the dam in their 20 years experience in office. So I think we prepared based on previous floods accordingly, and this just came in at a whole different level. So rest assured we will have everyone task teaming to make sure that this is managed as effectively as possible for preventative future measures.
And the animals, where were they evacuated to, and the kind of assistance that you received there?
So we have an incredible zoological team with an ethics committee, and we have protocols in place for situations like this. They had to move really fast. The animals went to the private reserve. They're all in enclosures there. The smaller animals are in the animal care centre. That care centre thankfully has the underfloor heating that's required for different species. So a lot of the species have very species-specific requirements and needs. So while we're busy with these mop-up efforts, and a lot of the team are knee-deep in sludge in our carnivore side of the facility, we still have teams running, keeping routines going with feeding and care for the animals, and all of that is still running as it should be.
We'll have to leave it there. Tammy Moult there from the Cango Wildlife Ranch. Just ask my colleague, unfortunately we can't see the river clearly from where we're standing, but this is the river that Tammy was speaking about that rose to about 4 meters high. Unfortunately for them, and planning, informed by previous floods, they were able to implement those emergency evacuations and ensure the safety of the animals. At this present moment, a number of mop-up operations, not just at this ranch, but throughout the municipality, taking stock of the damage, including repairs that need to be done. And again, a caution from the mayor that people to avoid using low-lying bridges, including roads, and avoid roads that have been flooded, as teams in the municipality and engineers are still taking stock and doing assessments on the structural damage caused by the adverse weather conditions to the infrastructure. As you mentioned, landslides, and some community members and communities still cut off from the rest of the municipality. We understand there that a number of humanitarian aid has been provided to those communities to ensure that they do have the necessary essentials to keep them going for the next couple of days.